The further misadventures of Rancid BFKA Fail Order Bride. Hello again. As noted, this is an update and your comments are very welcome, but advice is not needed. Disclaimer for those who will feel sorry for this poor little old lady: she has been evaluated by many professionals and is not demented. Her current personality and actions are typical of her whole life. She is legally capable of deciding. She just makes bad decisions, fueled by her narcissistic personality. So, RB is truly, madly, deeply in love with my future stepdaddy aka internet scammer and has been for months. It's obviously true love. I have returned to blissful NC with her, but am getting updates from my sister, who has been upgraded from just maybe to possibly just yes with a few fleas. In my last post I believe I shared that RB had flown to Alaska to get my future stepdaddy out of jail in the airport. Lol, but she couldn't find him. Probably because he's in Europe somewhere. My daughter called RB while she was in Alaska and said, "What you doing, grandma?" And RB told my darling crotch goblin she's a grown-up, that she was just hanging around the house. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Are we shocked that RB is such a liar? No, we aren't. We would have been shocked if she hadn't lied. Currently, RB has given all of her retirement accounts away, thwarted every effort we have made to stop her from giving all of her money away, and seen multiple promised visits from my future stepdaddy not happen. Am I ever going to get my pony from my new daddy? Seriously, I would be just as happy with a baby goat or even a hedgehog. There, totes adorbs. I'm thinking no form of cute animal is coming my way from my future stepdaddy. I am desolate, but a lifetime as the spawn of the Rancid Bee has prepared me well for this disappointment. Currently, RB is out of retirement money and just has her social security coming in. My devoted future stepdaddy has not abandoned her though. It really is the stuff of fairy tales. He's offering her encouragement. He's encouraging her to sell her home my sister is on the deed, so RB will only have access to half the money and also to get a title loan against her paid off car. She ran her ass down to the bank today to get the title loan and apparently also to get a personal loan. I almost broke NC to text her when she was on the way to the bank to ask her why a multimillionaire with his picture hanging in the bank would need a 90-year-old widow to fund him with her car and gift cards she buys at Walmart. I held back as I knew it would not help. Sister offered to buy RB out of the house, but RB said it wasn't a real offer. Whatever that means. I discussed it yet again with my dear H and verified that there is no way in hell that RB will be living with us once she loses her house. I've been there, I'm not doing it ever again. I will stick to my promise to make her a quilt for her park bench though. I've got it half made, it's lovely. Mother-in-law showed up to wedding knowing she was COVID positive. Am I overreacting? I'm happy to say I completely reached my breaking point with my in-laws after they showed up to their other son and my future sister-in-law's wedding knowing my mother-in-law tested positive for COVID a few hours during the getting process. I was not at the wedding until the tail end of it because I was a bridesmaid in a different wedding in a different city on the same day, or I would have lost it on them during their son's wedding day. Mother-in-law mentioned she had a sore throat and wasn't drinking any wine at the rehearsal dinner since she didn't feel well. I should have realized then it was COVID. Since my in-laws were former medical professionals, I just assumed she tested to see if she had COVID before deciding to sit next to us for hours that day or attending any pre-wedding events. After the church ceremony ended of the wedding I was in, I get a text from my husband that his mom tested positive for COVID. The J&ILs decided to tell the bride moments before her first look and right after her hair and makeup were done. I'm now freaking out since I've been with the family of the wedding I'm in and her dad has a serious cancer diagnosis. Now I'm fuming at the wedding I'm at and eventually leave and show up wearing a mask to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's wedding. Mother-in-law is not in a mask and I refuse to interact with her at all. Later I learned a plan was put in place to Photoshop mother-in-law unmasked face into photos. There was a plan for the in-laws to have their own dining table on the terrace. Yet, apparently this wasn't good enough, so maskless, being on the dance floor and talking to all guests happened. Half of the bride's side left because they were so uncomfortable with my mother-in-law's behavior. To make matters even worse, the bride planned for a private last dance with her and her husband and everyone was asked to leave the venue to give them their private moment. Before this, my father-in-law told the bride that the last private dance should really be between my mother-in-law and her newly married son. The bride refused and Jay and father-in-law stood in the empty reception hall and watched them dance. Videographer has this in the footage. I texted mother-in-law with my husband on the text that I've never seen my husband, her other son, so mad in his entire life and we need space from them based on her decision to not wear a mask and ruin his brother and sister-in-law's wedding. A week or two later she texts some passive-aggressive message to just him about no one's a perfect parent but maybe my husband will be and we have to forgive the past and she's always believed and still believes love is unconditional. My husband essentially says bullshit and love and family means taking accountability for your actions and growing from it and communicating effectively. We eventually called them to discuss this and they completely blamed shift, and I lost my shoot about what they did to their son and new daughter-in-law on their wedding day was not okay and addressed my other lengthy issues. Mother-in-law still thinks she did nothing wrong, and regularly texts bride about how she didn't care she had COVID and no one on her side cared about it or got COVID. Apparently my husband and I don't matter or the few sets of their friends that left due to her maskless behavior, and my husband and I did get COVID and then passed it on to our own child. Eventually, the bride tells her half her side left the wedding since mother-in-law walked around maskless. Mother-in-law's response was it was their loss for missing a beautiful day and mother-in-law wasn't going to miss it. I feel like I need to ask if this is normal behavior, or would healthy people react differently in the same circumstances. Part of me believes this was mother-in-law's last-ditch effort to make the day about her since both her sons are now married and she is the other woman. Mother-in-law acting like she's the bride. Am I overreacting? My mother-in-law might be the queen mother-in-law. My fiancé got diagnosed with brain cancer 2 months after we got engaged and his mother made it all about her. It's really a lot to explain. He was hospitalized for 6 months due to his diagnosis and had to learn how to talk and eat again and can no longer walk independently, may get better with time and therapy. I'm his 24/7 caregiver and get little to no help from his parents. Anyways, we had to postpone our wedding due to his diagnosis. While he was sick in the ICU and couldn't talk, I held his hand and said I needed him to get better so we could get married, and this was a year out from our would-be wedding date. I was just telling him I loved him and trying to encourage home. His mom took his other hand and said you have to get better so you can dance with me a year from now. Then when he eventually came home, she had the nerve to ask him, in front of me, if he even still wanted to marry me when I was trying to talk to him about our wedding plans. Since then we've started to make concrete plans for our rescheduled wedding and she's acted so odd. First, she insisted I pick the colors of her dress, my mom's, and my stepmom's. She kept trying to get them to all wear matching colors and dresses. I assigned everyone a color which I didn't think I'd have to do, but okay, and she kept trying to pick the colors I did for my mom and stepmom. I told my mom gold, and then to honor my stepmom I said blue and that she can be my something blue. Mother-in-law even went as far as trying to buy my mom's dress in a different color, also tried to match my mom's color, and tried to wear blue even after I said multiple times I wanted my stepmom to feel special too. She also booked several appointments at bridal salons for herself and took an entourage with her like it was her say yes to the dress moment. She was even super rude to me when I was supposed to go with her and told me to drive myself and stormed out of the house because I was a little late to her house the day of one of her many appointments. I was late because her disabled son unexpectedly needed to use the bathroom and it takes longer. She's also late to everything with no regard for anyone else's feelings or time, so this was majorly hypocritical. At her multiple appointments and shopping trips she kept making comments and saying she was going to upstage me, the bridesmaids, and my moms. I don't think that's appropriate or a possibility at all. I'm a 23-year-old bride and she's a 50-plus woman. My moms are also younger and beautiful in their own ways. She even kept making comments about how a size 8 is big when I'm a size 8. She got her dress finally after many appointments and now she's trying to act like she's the bride when it comes to hair and makeup. She's asking for her own hair trial with my stylist before the wedding. She's done other weird things too, like try to force her wants for cake on us and offer to host the rehearsal dinner only if it's not too expensive. It's just a lot to deal with, and after all the shoot we've been through as a couple, I want my wedding to be perfect and all about us, not her. I really don't do much for myself and I want this day to be stress-free and happy. I'm dreading having her with me while I get ready. I wrote her a letter a while ago and never sent it, but I basically call her out for all her shooty behavior in it. She thinks her and I are cool, but I secretly can't stand her at all. DH is on the same page and doesn't feel he has a good relationship with her. I don't know if I want advice or just to vent. Maybe validation that I'm not crazy and her behavior is wrong.
Make sure and subscribe.